What's going on, guys? It's Tina checking in. So before I get into the topic of this video, I want to take some time out to give a shout out to somebody that helped me, even though they didn't have to. I want to give a shout out to Eli over at the People's Podcast. He was nice enough to let someone, he don't know me from a can of paint, but I reached out to him. I shared my story with him after I saw he had an encounter in the same city that we are in, and actually an encounter with the cops around the same time we were also dealing with our issue. And he had documented on his channel, and I watched it. And I pulled his email address and I emailed him and shared my story with him about what my family was going through. And he opened up his platform to me. And I never forget when someone does something for me, especially when they don't have to. He didn't have to. He could have ignored my email, but he didn't. He chose to email me back. So that speaks volumes to me about the type of person that he is. So I got nothing but love and respect for Eli and appreciation for the fact that he opened up his platform and gave me a place that I could tell my story to a completely different audience. So I'm very thankful to you, Eli. I'm thankful to your team. You know, I really appreciate how welcoming you guys were, how you listened, and how you gave advice. I just thank you so much. That means a lot. So the least I can do is shout out your YouTube channel to my viewers here. And I'm asking you guys, my family, just go support his channel, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to all of his channels. He's got a lot of channels. So we're going to pull them up right quick. Let me share my screen with you. So this is one of Eli's channels right here. And this is the platform that he invited me to come on and share my story with. And it is also a platform that I will be going back and just being a part of, you know, the group and actually talking and sharing views. It was a great experience. So I'll definitely be back again. The People's Podcast, subscribe to it, listen to it, watch it. These are his other channels as well. So I'm going to put all the links to all of his channels. I'm going to put it in the description of this video and in the comments. Just subscribe to every last one of them just to show him some support. I would definitely appreciate that. And I know Eli would appreciate that as well. That's the least I can do because he really came through for me when he didn't have to. And I just never forget when someone does something from me from the bottom of their heart. And that's exactly what he did. So mad love to Eli and the crew over at the People's Podcast. You guys are the real MVPs. I appreciate you guys. So mad love for that. All right, so let's get into the content for today. Okay, so the audio you're about to hear is me telling my side of the story to one of the officers on Saturday, September the 28th, after everything that happened at the hospital. This is after we get there, after we went through our ordeal with their security guards, after we went through our ordeal with the cops pulling their weapons on us, after they handcuffed my husband and they took him to a room around the corner and put him behind closed doors, right? So this is where we are. I don't know if he's been arrested. I don't know what's going on. I just know they got my husband behind closed doors and they're talking to him, right? So I'm in another room on the opposite end of where he is in. Like what looks like be like a break room or something, like only a few steps away from my dad's ICU room. So I'm in there talking to this officer. And when the audio starts, you hear him introduce himself and you'll hear me say my name. Now, as I'm telling my story, I can tell that he's not really listening. He's not coming from a place of he really cares. It's like he's angling, right? And as you hear the audio, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say he's angling, because I can feel it, right? So let's start with the audio and then I'll give context as we go. Here it is. What's your
I'm Jim.
Okay,
I need a security to escort those guys out. So one guy's going to stand by. Come on over here.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Does
he suffer any type of mental health issues? Is he on medication, anything like that?
Nope.
Does he see a psychiatrist or social worker?
Nope.
Is he a veteran?
Yes.
Veteran from where? What branch?
Army
Okay.
Ranger. Mhm.
Army Ranger? Okay,
Mhm.
so Army Ranger, did he
Mhm.
suffer from any PTSDs or anything like that within service that he's currently seeing through Veteran Affairs?
He's not seeing anybody from Veteran Affairs, and not that I know of on the PTSD.
What do you do for a living?
Me?
Yeah.
I work in sales.
So like you don't have anybody in the family who has a professional opinion as to his mental capacity?
No.
All right, like, now tell me your story again.
Okay. All right. So the story of what happened today, right?
Yes.
Okay. So starting from scratch. All right. Mom and dad in here in the hospital.
Dad's sick.
Dad is sick.
Is he okay?
Dad called and he got on the phone.
Where's dad live?
Here in Connecticut. Yeah.
You live in?
No, Georgia. Tori, son, born and raised here in Stanford.
Kidding.
Yeah.
He's same age as me. I don't. What's the last name?
I kept my name when we got married.
Okay.
So the last name is right. Parents live over 100.
You're not carrying a weapon, are you?
No, I don't have that. So getting back to the story. So yesterday we were at home in Georgia.
Okay.
Mom and dad called. Mom was here at the hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "It's Tori there." I said, "He's outside working out in the driveway." She said, Dad wants to talk to him. I said, "Uh-oh, let me go get him," right? Because I don't know what Dad wants to say. I know he's been in ICU for 2 weeks, and we're starting the question. Yeah. So.
Hey, Kelly, get Kelly red on these.
So Dad gets on the phone. All right. So you hear me telling my story, and then all of a sudden he yells out of the room, "Hey, get Kelly Reynolds," right? So of course I hear this, and I'm like, okay, what's Kelly Reynolds for, right? So let's continue. And he's crying, and he's like, "Please get me out of here." He said, "These people, I'm getting sick here. These people are trying to kill me. I don't like the accommodations here." Okay. He said, "Please, son, come get me out of here." Right?
Is he with it? Is he with it? All with it up top?
Yes, he absolutely is. Yeah, he's sharp.
Okay.
So we said, okay, well, it's time to make the drive. We knew we were going to have to come up here, right?
This is Sergeant Reynolds. She's going to check your bag.
Make sure
Okay.
Yeah.
You just take it off, please.
I might have a little pocket knife in there. I got to have my utility knife, but other than that,
I
ain't got
I'm just worried about guns.
Yeah, I don't got that in
So
there.
your husband has? You have a gun permit?
I do.
You carry?
I do.
From Connecticut or
Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia.
So your Connecticut, your permit is in Georgia?
Yeah.
Everybody got a gun in Georgia, right?
Everybody got one. You don't even have to have a permit no more in Georgia.
All right.
But anyway, getting back to my story. Okay. All right. So as you can see right there, once Kelly comes in, as he asked for, she searches my bag after I, told him I didn't have anything. She searched my bag. And then she proceeds to frisk me. So I'm up against the wall in frisk position, and you'll hear her frisk me, right? And then you'll also hear him ask me about, whether or not I have a permit to carry. Now, I've said 100 times from Georgia, I'm not from Connecticut, right? But he asked me if I had a permit to carry. I said yes. They were like, "Is it Connecticut?" I'm like, "No, it's Georgia. Because that's where we live. That's where we're from, right?" So then I try to get back on track to tell my story. Let's continue. So Dad gets on the phone. I told you like what he says. He's ready to get up out of here. "Son, please come help me." So we drove the 16-hour drive from Georgia to up here.
You came up with him?
Yeah, me and drove in the truck. We came up here. We just got up here maybe we probably maybe been here all together maybe 3 hours with this whole ordeal since the time we first got here to now. Maybe it's been 3 hours since we've been here. So the first thing we call mom. Mom's still at the hospital.
He's gonna give you this in the cash, right?
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, he wants you to have
Money.
Now what's going on?
He's being arrested right now.
For what?
And we'll figure out the charges, but it's pretty serious. Unlawful, carry of a weapon in the state of Connecticut. He's not licensed to carry in Connecticut.
That's the big.
So now you notice. So one of the officers comes in and they hand me all of my husband's cash that he had in his wallet, right? So I ask, "What's going on?" And so that's when the officer that I'm speaking to says he's being arrested. And you hear me say immediately, "For what?" Right? And he says they don't know the charges right now, right? Is what he says. And then he says, "Well, the most serious thing we have is possession of a weapon without a permit in Connecticut," right? And you notice he says that's the biggest thing we have, right? So if that's the biggest thing that they have, that tells you, that lines up with the audio in which I tell you that there was no reason for those officers to draw a weapon on my husband and his family. When I said my husband did not threaten anybody, he didn't put his hands on anybody, he didn't even raise his voice, he didn't pull his weapon out, right? So with him saying, oh, well, the biggest problem we have is having a weapon without a permit in Connecticut, right? So when he says that, that lines up with the audio in my other video in which you were listening to when the officers pulled their weapons on my husband. And we had to jump in front of them. And I told you it was unwarranted. They had absolutely no reason to draw their weapons on my husband. The fact that he said, well, the worst thing you got is just having a permit in Connecticut, right? That tells you right there, and that backs up what I said. Yeah, because had it been anything worse than just having a gun without a permit in Connecticut, and worse would have been had my husband threatened somebody, which he didn't. Had my husband put his hands on somebody, which he didn't. Had my husband drew his weapon, which he did not, right? So that backs up what I was saying when I was telling you guys, them pulling their weapons and everything that transpired at this hospital was totally unwarranted because he did not do anything to deserve that, right? And this officer in this moment, after my husband has already been handcuffed and taken behind a closed door to be questioned by those officers, and he comes and he says, after he's told me he's being arrested, and he says that the biggest problem here is not having a permit for a handgun in Connecticut, right? So all of that transpired. All of that weapons drawn on us and the whole nine, right? It was excessive, right? The officer backs it up right here when he says, oh, you know what, the biggest problem is, you know, having a handgun in Connecticut without permit. Why he took us through all of this, right? So let's continue.
That's the biggest one.
Okay.
So we'll go on with your story. We'll get to the back of it. Go ahead.
All right. Is he still here?
He's walking out now.
Can I go?
You won't be able to talk to him now. I'm sorry.
No, he'll get a phone call when he's in jail.
Yes.
And we'll have him call you. We'll take your number down and I'll have him call you. Or I'll call you from the jail. How about that?
So go ahead, finish your story.
I'm all discombobulated now. My husband in jail.
This is mom, right?
That's mom.
Okay.
Oh man.
What do you need, mom? You need something on the counters? The officer.
Am I in your way? Yeah. What do you need, ma'am?
All right. So as I was saying,
Oh, you need she needs a Canada Dry.
Fair enough. So do I. I might take one with
You need ice, mom? Give her some ice, Cal.
oh man, I really hate that. I'm like, so in this moment, after they have just told me that my husband is being arrested, I'm trying to regather my thoughts because inside I'm so upset. I'm one of those people, guys. I try to be as cool as a cucumber under every situation. It's like, don't let them see you sweat, right? But inside, I was just like, oh my God, they just arrested my husband, right? And I'm trying to recollect my thoughts so I can continue telling him my side of the story. And mom comes into the room where we are because we're in a break room. It's got ice, it's got drinks. So she's coming in to get, you know, drinks, ice or whatever. And she doesn't know that her son has been arrested at this point because I just found out, right? So I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I didn't even say anything to mom. I just let her come into the break room as normal, get what she was going to get, and then go back out, right? So let's continue. Okay, we drove up here and wanted to see that, and this is not.
You're welcome, man.
There you go. Okay,
what we
sorry
were
about that.
expecting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going with your story.
I'm sorry. I'm just I really did not want him to have to go to jail. He's already so stressed out by
I know.
that
Well, we're going to try to
son
make it, as less stressful as
and
possible.
everything.
I can understand. Me personally, my opinion,
yeah.
he's got some mental health issues he's got to address. Yes, I agree. And we're going to see to it that he gets the help that he needs. But for now. All right. So you hear the police officer try to diagnose my husband as though he's some type of medical professional, right? Oh, I think he's got some type of mental health issues. We're going to make sure he gets the help that he needs. Okay. Yeah. By hauling him off to jail. Right. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Right. Let's continue. Now, I need you to tell me what you're driving up here.
Yeah. So we drove up here after speaking to dad because we wanted to find out why is dad still in the ICU. Right. Especially after he's saying that I'm getting sicker, I'm not getting better, I want to get out of here, right?
So we get up here, and the first thing Tori says, well, he says, I'm gonna go over to the hospital. I want to talk to the doctors and whatnot. So he said,
Right.
let me go over to the police station, let them know, show my face. I'm here. I'm going over to ICU. I'm not happy with what's going on with my dad. So in case I rub somebody the wrong way, let me let y'all know. I've already said you. That way you don't come in hot. So we get over here to the police station. I mean, not the police station, to the hospital.
She's gonna pat you down right now.
Cancel the walk, please.
Yeah,
Thank
so
On the wall. Thank
So
you.
what was I saying? Let me let you. I can't be patted in and talking.
You mind your stance for me?
So in this moment, I am being frisked by the female officer that he called into the room as I'm trying to tell my story of what happened to our family. You'll even hear me say, it's like I'm just so, I don't even have the words for what I was actually thinking. I was just in total disbelief that this was happening to me. I have never, ever been searched or frisked or any of that. I've never even sat in the back of a police car before. This is all foreign and new to me, right? And I'm not liking the way any of it feels. So you'll hear me say that I can't be patted and talk at the same time because it really was messing with me mentally, right? Let's continue.
Hands on the wall.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So we get over here, get up here to the hospital, get in the room. Dad's in the room. Mom's already here. And she's been here all night and all day, right? So we get here. We're standing there for a few seconds. Me, him, and Mom. The nurse comes. She says, only 2 people to a room, right?
Okay.
So Tori has just gotten in the room. He just had eyes on his dad, not even 15 seconds. And she came in, and so she said, only 2 guys to the room. He said, get someone that is in charge now.
Okay.
He did not get in her face. He was not like being crazy disrespectful, but I think it rubbed her the wrong way. So she said, okay, I will get my manager. So we're expecting a medical supervisor to come. We turn around, there's 2 security guards at the door. So the 2 guards and him, they're talking and whatnot. The same thing. The guards didn't like the way they were being talked to or whatnot. So they talked and talked and talked. My husband took him down there. He said, man, he apologized to the guy with the dreads. He said, look, I'm sorry. This is my situation. I'm sorry. The guy with the dreads is like, I don't care about your situation. He just said it right then. He said, he's telling me a situation. He said, he just told you that. I heard it. He said, honestly, I don't care about his situation. And that was the attitude he had. Okay, whatever. They talked. He said he was sorry. This is my situation.
Okay.
This is what's going on. So I guess at some point, security must have called it comments. Then you got. All right. So you heard me retelling the story to the police officer, right? And if you went back and you watched the video where I played the audio of the security guard, you will see that my audio lines up with the story I'm sitting here telling the police officer, right? Where I told him that the security guard basically told us he didn't care. And the security guard didn't like the way my husband was speaking to him, even though in the audio you hear my husband was not disrespectful. He wasn't loud. He wasn't disorderly. He just asked over and over again for a medical professional, for a doctor, right? So there was something in that the security guard didn't like for whatever reason, right? So let's continue. I showed up right as he was getting on the phone with the doctor, because one of the nurses said, do you just want to talk to the doctor? And he said, yes, I want to talk to the doctor. Okay. So we found out the doctor can't come up here right now, but he'll talk to you on the phone. So he was like, cool, I'll get on the phone. So that's what he was doing. He was on the phone with the doctor, but everybody and their brother showed up.
Okay. And you drove up just 16 hours straight. 16
hours straight, yeah. Now,
and it's normal for him to dress that way?
Yeah.
What time did you leave?
We left about 6:30 in the evening.
What does he do for a living?
He does private security. So like contract work, whatever type of security guards, whether it's private security, government work, whatever you need, because the ex-military background. So that's what he does. But I know we're in Connecticut, and I get things are different right here. Right. But we're in Georgia. He's born and raised here, but he's been in Georgia a long time. And when you dress like that in Georgia, nobody bats an eye.
This is how he dresses every day. He goes, you tell him to go to the store, get a milk, and he's going like that.
Yep.
Everywhere down.
Yeah.
Credit for coming to headquarters and letting him know I'm going to go visit my dad at the hospital.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we're dealing with now is the fact that he has a firearm in the hospital in the state of Connecticut. No.
And then you'll hear the female officer repeat again that, you know, the worst part is, you know, him having a weapon, not having a permit, right? As well. So let's continue.
Valid Connecticut permit. So that's what we're dealing with right now. We're going to talk to the initial nurse that he spoke to, see her eyes on it.
Yeah.
As of right now, all the stories are kind of gel together.
You drove up here? Your own car?
Yeah, drove my own car.
Where's that car parked? Where's your car parked?
My car?
Yeah. Outside front? Will you give us consent to search the car?
Just to make.
I just got to make sure he didn't bring anything else up here with him.
Oh no, I don't. There's no reason to search my car, right?
You have to. You have to make sure that he didn't bring anything else up with it. So if it's okay with you, we just want to check real quick, make sure there's nothing else in there that, like, he didn't bring any rifles or any other handguns. Because in order for me to let him out, I got to know that he has no more access to handguns in the state of Connecticut. Otherwise, I'll be keeping him.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And he'll stay.
Yeah,
He'll go to court on
Connecticut
Monday.
laws are very different
Very
than the other
strict.
states.
Very strict. So if there's no other handguns in the car and you have nothing to worry about, just let the officers check your car out real quick, make sure there's no other handguns in there. That I'll make sure he gets released. But I think he should actually speak to someone in the mental health field today.
Can I talk to him?
You'll get a phone call. Yeah, you talk to him. Yeah.
Man. Let me see.
Would he normally travel more than one handgun or rifle or anything like that?
Sometimes, because when we left home, we already had all of our stuff in the car from just previous travels. He uses the vehicle for work.
Right.
Yeah. So if he uses the vehicle for work and then he's got something in there, then what?
I mean, it's not going to make this charges any worse. You know, I can't release them and have him go get a gun out of the car and then come here and shoot the hospital up. I would look like an idiot if I did that. I can't release them.
I think you're hesitant because you think if we find something in the car, there's going to be added charges. That's not the case at all.
If we find anything, we're just going to hold it for safekeeping to the end of the court case. That's it. I got to make sure he has no access to weapons.
So when you do come in, he is released to you. He doesn't come back here and, like the lieutenant said, shoot somebody in here.
Oh gosh,
we're held liable. Now you know him far better than we do. It's the first time we're ever meeting him. We have to take the safety precautions. We have to abide by our laws here.
So will you walk us down to your car and allow us to check your car?
Okay.
I can't allow you to drive around Connecticut with handguns if you're not registered. So
you mean they're not registered in Connecticut?
we do.
Yeah, you can't own carry firearms in Connecticut if you don't have a Connecticut valid pistol permit.
Even if they're at home weapons.
Okay. Connecticut state laws are different.
These people can't protect themselves.
Most people up here that have guns they go through a rigorous process to get that permit.
Okay, so if you're ready, we're ready.
Oh man.
You just got to sign a form giving us consent.
Man.
I
don't really want y'all to search my car. What happens if you don't search it?
Then I'm going to tow it and I'm going to put it at police headquarters.
Oh, so you're going to search it
I'm
anyway?
apply for a search warrant. It may take a week to
No, I'm asking the real question.
If you don't allow us to search it, we're going to tow it. We're going to store it at headquarters. We're going to apply for a search warrant. Judge is going to sign off on it, and then after that, we will search the whole thing to its entirety.
Okay. All right, so you heard the conversation between me and the cop, and that was me and two cops because the female cop is in there as well. And you heard what I meant when I said I was trying to tell my side of the story, but he was angling like the whole time. And then when it got to, he angled his way to, you know, wanting to search my vehicle, right? And my hesitancy and wanting to consent to search is really around the fact that I understand what my constitutional right is around that, right? And me feeling at that current time, they've already stomped all over our civil liberties by everything that has happened to us leading up to that point. And here they are again, continuing to just trample on constitutional right? By asking me if I consent to a search. And I said to them, there's no reason for you to search my car. I don't really want you to search my car. And I even asked, what happens if you don't search it, right? And here he goes. This is where I feel the coercion comes in, right? This is where I was really forced to consent under duress because I didn't want to do it. It was my constitutional right to say no. But you basically told me if I didn't do it, you was going to search it anyway, right? So when I asked him, I said, what's going to happen if I don't consent? Oh, we're just going to tow your vehicle down to the police station. We're going to get a warrant. And when we get that warrant, we're going to search it to its entirety. It might take a week, right? Y'all, I am over 800 miles away from my home in Georgia, trying to handle business around this city. You got my husband in jail. I need my car, right? You telling me you don't tow my vehicle and keep it for a week, get a search warrant and search it anyway if I don't consent to a search. In that moment, I was like, this is not right here. The way this is being done, I'm basically being pressed into giving consent. I'm basically being coerced into giving consent under duress. I didn't like it, y'all. Let's continue.
Then you have to figure out a way to transport it back to Georgia.
Okay.
All right. So Kelly, want to take her downstairs with Chris and make sure you get the consent form?
Yep. Do you want this stuff in your laundry?
Yeah, that's got my watch. Can I take my bag since you didn't see anything? Is this okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm putting. So right now, what you hear is me leaving the hospital. I'm following the officers, and they're gonna take me to where my vehicle is in the parking lot of the hospital.
Where'd you park?
I'm in the paid parking lot across the street. It's the paid parking lot next to the valet.
What kind of car is it?
It's a black Sequoia. It's the paid parking lot next to the valet park.
Yeah, okay, there's an officer.
Did you guys park the
Say what?
On the taller building, right?
Well, you tell where we at?
Yeah, where you guys.
Okay, you know where the valet parking is, right?
Yeah.
There's a paid parking lot right next to the valet
right there?
parking.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'm riding in the officer's car on the way to my vehicle. I thought Connecticut was so strict. So I understand that. What's the law on like is it just handguns that they're strict about? Or is it everything? Long gun, handgun?
Permit
For just the handgun?
pretty much yeah, handgun.
Okay. So they don't care about long guns.
No, we do care about that. I don't think it's not a long gun.
Okay.
Just inside the house.
You can have it. You said inside the house.
Yeah. You need a permit for that as well.
That is
Still carry.
That's crazy.
Handguns.
You originally from here? All right, so you hear me talking with the cop because I'm trying to understand like what's going on in Connecticut with y'all's gun laws, right? So I'm asking him a question, and he's kind of explaining things to me and just really talking to the officer as we're taking that ride over to where my vehicle is at. Let's continue.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends in Georgia though.
Yeah, I am born and raised in Georgia.
I'm talking about this part.
Did we just pass the valet?
Yeah, this is the valet.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You got my keys. Where you at?
I'll meet you over there. I came back to where the front entrance is.
That's where the car is.
No, that's
No, the front entrance. The side one. The main entrance.
So we made it over to where my car is parked.
I'm with the girl over here. Cars in the main entrance. I got the.
And I'm getting out of the police car at this point. So at this point, I'm standing outside the police car right at the parking lot when my truck is parked. I'm waiting on one of the officers to bring this consent to search form, which I'm still very apprehensive about. I don't want to give up my constitutional right to, and have them, search my vehicle at this point. But this is where we are, right? So you're going to hear me, as they bring that form over, you're going to hear me start asking questions about that consent form, right? Because this is all new territory for me. I've never been in this situation before. I just know that the way I was asked to consent the search, it didn't feel right, right? So I just knew, okay, there's got to be some of my rights being trampled on right here by the way that I'm being asked to give this consent to search. And so all of that's going in my mind as he's producing the paperwork and they want me to sign it, right? So let's continue.
Really? Yes. You can show us clear from your return. I guess that's
Just run through the form number.
Quick little thing, just consent to search. You're just giving the authority
Let me read it right
search the car.
All right, so my constitutional rights not to have a search made in front of mission while the search warrant.
for the hospital is 3737.
Nurse.
308 would be 2024 07058.
Any questions?
Yeah, he told me that they would take my vehicle, but it says right here I have to authorize you to seize it.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case.
So
Yeah, he told me that he just literally said that if I said, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with you confiscating, that you would seize my vehicle anyway.
So
These persons are authorized. I'm not trying to be
to
difficult. I
seize
just like
any
to read my
merchandise, material, or other property.
property.
Yeah.
That car is property.
Okay.
Mhm.
Ma'am, if
I ain't trying to be difficult.
you don't have to.
But
right?
he just told me that's gonna take
And
my
I
car
heard
anyway, and I
exactly
just
what the
sit here and
lieutenant
read
told
it. I said, wait a
With
minute.
that,
All right, so what you're hearing is me. I'm looking at that paperwork. I'm reading that consent to search form, and there's some verbiage on there. And I'm like, wait a minute, right? He basically put me in this trick box. He said, well, yeah, you have the right not to consent, but if you don't consent, we're gonna tow your vehicle and search it anyway. Is basically where he put me at. So when I saw the paperwork, there was some verbiage in it that kind of said that I would have to give consent to the seizure of my property, right? Which the whole vehicle is my property, right? So I was questioning around that, and it was like, no, this is not what it means, and blah 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 blah. So it's just like I've signed that thing under duress. I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't want to sign it, and I said, you heard me say, I don't really want y'all to search my car, right? It's just the whole thing stunk, right? The whole thing stunk. I was verbal, and you could hear me on the audio say, first, there's no reason for you to search my car, and then you heard me say, I don't really want you to search my car, and then you heard the officer say, well, if you don't give us the consent to search, we're going to tow your car and hold it and get a search warrant and search it anyway, right? So, like I said, I'm 800 miles away from home. You guys are telling me you're going to take my vehicle if I don't consent to consent to a search. It just felt really wrong, right? And I just felt really pressed, and I did feel coerced to sign that paperwork. I did feel under duress to sign that paperwork. So it really put me in a trick bag. It's like I was really basically like, hey, you don't give us this consent to search, we gonna take your car, like just threatening to take my car. It just felt so icky. This was a violation of my constitutional rights, is what it felt like, right? Straight up, especially after you heard me say I didn't want to consent to the search. After everything had went on, they had arrested my husband and all this stuff had transpired at the hospital. It was just a lot. So let's continue.
there may or may not be evidence in that vehicle, right? If there's evidence in that vehicle, we are going to seize it. You do not have to give us. Hang on.
Okay.
You do not have to give us consent to search. You could say no. I'm not doing this. But I promise you, we're towing your car back to the police department, and then we're just holding it. We're not touching it. Other than that, it's going to stay locked. It's going to stay in a secure area. We're going to do a search warrant. It's going to, like she said, more than likely take about a week. And then once we do search it, then we would release the vehicle.
All right, so I'm gonna stop that video right there, man. That was the experience. After, they told me my husband was arrested, I was like without words, right? I was so upset, right? And then you heard me when I asked him, as soon as that guy brought my husband's money in there, and I asked him, I was like, what's going on? And he's like, he's been arrested. And you heard me immediately say, what for? And then the officer was like, well, we don't have the charges yet, or something like that. They're still trying to work on his charges, or something that he said, right? So you heard him say that. And it was just a mess, man. The whole thing just stunk. How everything was handled from the beginning just stunk, right? It's bad enough that we already came here because we felt like the care stunk, right? Then the nurse, the way she handled us stunk, right? And then the way the security guard handled us stunk. And then the way the cops handled us also stunk all the way to the end, right? And yeah, man, I really am almost about speechless on this. So that was my experience, man, trying to tell my family's side of the story to a cop that didn't really care at the end of the day. He's just angling, trying to portray my husband as having a mental issue. You saw how he basically tried to, play medical doctor, trying to say my husband's got mental health issues and all that, right? So you heard him go there. And just the way it was handled, him calling this female officer in to search my bag and frisk me, and then, backing me into a corner to make me give up the consent to search. It was just it made me feel icky. I didn't like none of it. It didn't feel right at all, right? So I just kind of wanted to share that with you. That's all I have for now. Like I said, I give you an update on how the outcome of trying to get my husband on the phone with the attorney and see where, what's going on with him, and kind of giving him the update as to what we're doing. But other than that, man, I will see you guys on the next one. And before I go, I want to say thanks again to each and every one of you that have called me to check on me like daily, that have sent me text messages, that have shared my video to help me get the word out there, that have donated to our GoFundMes, that have prayed for us. I can't not thank you enough. And I'm going to thank you on every single video, because it means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family. It means a lot to my husband. We thank all of you. And just continue to share it. Even when you think you shared it enough, share it some more, right? So we're still trying to get the word out there. We're still trying to get in these donations to do what we can to bring my husband back home safe. So thanks again. I will see you guys on the next one. I got more content that I'm working on around this whole incident that has happened to my family. So stay tuned. I'll be posting more. But other than that, I will see you on the next video. Thanks again. God bless you.